The topic of my research design is the effects of fostering algebraic thinking toolkit on Algebra 1 students' proportional reasoning by Matthew Leffler. Based on the regional data in South Texas, algebraic reasoning has been on the rise for the past 3 years in grades 5 and Algebra 1 STAR assessment. In contrast to the increase in scores in algebraic concepts within the 5th grade and Algebra 1 grade levels, 8th grade algebraic reasoning skills had a 5% decrease between the years 2017 and 2018. The identified area of concern is grade 8 algebraic proportional reasoning skills. In this study, the project revolves around the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit, other words known as the FATT, is proposed by the mathematician Mark Driscoll. Driscoll's core belief is that good mathematics teaching puts an essential focus on how students think about mathematics and understanding students' thinking through the analysis of different resources or collected data or collected samples of students' work. The question that this research design wants to identify is, what is the correlation between the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit and proportional reasoning STAR-based question proficiency levels on students' algebraic reasoning skills? The location chosen for this research study is in Harlingen, Texas. It is specifically at a freshman campus called Dr. Abraham Freshman Canoe Academy. The demographics consist of 89% Hispanic, 10% Caucasian, and 1% African American. Within these demographics, the makeup is there's about 81% students considered at risk, 19% are enrolled in the ESL program, 11% are labeled as 504 or SPED, and 4% considered migrant students. Within these 150 ninth graders, the ages vary from 14 to 16 years. Familiarity established within these parameters is zoned in the teachers and the student's comfort zone of a daily routine, established prior blending within the duration needed for the research to be conducted. This research will consist of a quantitative method for data collection. The quantitative approach will consist of a pre-assessment that will be conducted, totaling 13 questions selected from a TEA website resources that provide STAR-released items involving algebraic proportional reasoning standards. The alignment of the student expectation includes algebraic proportional reasoning concepts, ranged with a variety of mathematical understanding knowledge skills needed to reach a proficient or mastery level. Following the pre-assessment conducted, the research will use the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit. Within this study, the two problems chosen from the FATT are Crossing the River and the Skyscraper Windows by Mark Driscoll. Within the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit, it is designed around implementing mathematic problems that can elicit and develop algebraic thinking in proportional reasoning situations. The toolkit math problems serve as opportunities for teachers to gather data about algebraic thinking ongoing inside their students' cognitive functions. After the implementation of the pre-assessment followed by the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit, a post-assessment with 13 questions from a STAR-released question bank involving algebraic proportional reasoning with the student expectations aligning from the first pre-assessment. The pre- and post-assessment makeup includes a multiple choice manner or bubble-in according to the proper alignment within the state standards. The students are to work on the assessments and then submit the answers via iPad through the app Etazo. The Etazo software will then send the data to Tango Trends. Tango Trends is a data analysis company that I will have access to report the summary of what was found of pre and post assessment. So the research design outline will look like the pre-assessment with the 13 total questions, then the Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit implementation with the two problems, Crossing the River and the Skyscraper problem. The teacher will utilize those two open-ended problems as a teaching tool and not just a problem to solve for a graded assignment. After the two problems are worked together as a class and on your own, making them struggle, then the post-assessment will be given of 13 total questions, seeing if there's any kind of correlation within the two assessments. The three categories that the toolkit focuses on being critical to developing power in algebraic thinking are known as the algebraic habits of the mind, with the emphasis and the importance for students to develop the habit of applying these categories whenever they approach a math problem. The process of doing and undoing highlights the effective algebraic thinking that involves the reversibility or being able to undo mathematical processes as well as to do or solve them. The second habit of the mind described by Driscoll is building the rules to represent functions. A critical aspect to algebraic thinking is the ability or capacity to recognize patterns, organize data to represent situations, and be able to define functional rules, as well as characterizing which is the input related to the output. And thirdly, to acquire the ability or capacity to think about computations independently of particular numbers would be the third habit, known as abstracting from computation. Mark Driscoll describes abstraction as being one of the most evident characteristics of algebra. Identifying that a student can think algebraically involves being able to think about computation freed from the particular numbers that tie into arithmetic or abstracting systems regularity from the computations. To conclude this research design, to ensure students have the opportunity to engage in high-level thinking, teachers must regularly select and implement tasks that promote reasoning and problem-solving. The Fostering Algebraic Thinking Toolkit meets all the necessary criteria to fulfill the learner's needs. Limitations can include, according to mathematician Van de Waal, proportional reasoning is difficult to define in a simple sentence or two. It is both qualitative and a quantitative process. Implications for future research with studying algebraic and proportional reasoning skills and should be further studied. It is high functioning and a sophisticated way of thinking, and its development varies from individual to individual. Students will never think nor process information through the same scope in precisely the same manner. A multitude of possibilities to implement exist with the proper research strategized when developing the ability to reason proportionally within the mathematics classroom. Thank you very much. This is the end of my research design study.